Welcome to Rise and Stride, where we empower you to take your next step in an ever-changing business landscape. Here's your host, Denise LeDuc-Fremming, President and CEO of the California Society of CPAs.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Rise and Stride. With me today is CalCPA member Okorie Ramsey, Vice President of Sarbanes Oxley for Kaiser Foundation Health Plan and Kaiser Foundation Hospitals, and who recently began his term as chair of the American Institute of CPAs and the Association of International Certified Professional Accountants. Okorie has held various leadership roles with CalCPA since 2009, including chair of the Education Foundation, and has held several volunteer posts with the AICPA, including the AICPA Board of Directors, AICPA and Association Audit and Finance Committee Chair, AICPA Investments Committee, and AICPA Council. He is a lifetime member of the National Association of Black Accountants and won NABA's inaugural Core Values Award in 2022. He has previously held roles as chair of the Accounting Career Awareness Program, San Francisco Bay Area, and is former adjunct professor for San Francisco State University's Master of Business Administration program.
Wow, Corey, you are a busy guy. It's a wonder you have time for even this podcast.
Well, thank you, Denise. And it is a pleasure to be here with you and to have this conversation, and just so excited to be with you in this moment. And thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Well, I'm excited as well. It's always a pleasure to talk with you, Corey, and learn more about how you got to where you are today, and just everything that you have planned for the future. So maybe we should just start off with the question. It's always interesting to know how someone started on their journey. So maybe you can tell us how you landed in accounting, because there's always an interesting story there, and what it's been like and what the career means to you.
Great. There's a lot to unpack there, because it's been quite a journey. But I'll start with high school, actually. So I began my interest in accounting actually in high school, and a little bit prior. Well, I shouldn't say part of that. It was actually in high school. I took an elective course that was an accounting simulation class that was literally 4 semesters. You could take one or you could take all 4. And I found in my very first class that I really enjoyed it, and I continued with it. And so upon going into completing that set of courses, I knew going out of high school that I was going to major in accounting upon going into college. And so, and part of the reason why I was kind of adjusting a little bit there is because at the time that I was also in high school, my dad introduced me to Gwen Skillern, who at the time was a CPA. She had her own firm, and she was introducing me to different people in different careers. And she spoke to me about accounting, and I just got to know her and got to love her. She's an amazing woman. And between my accounting courses and the mentorship that I got through her, it was kind of a combination that I knew that accounting was going to be my thing. And so upon going into college, majored in accounting. I went to San Francisco State University. I participated in several accounting clubs like NABA. So that's how I was introduced to NABA now over 33 years ago, right? And so I did NABA, Beta Alpha Psi, became a member of that accounting fraternity, and then I was also a member of the Accounting Students Organization. And so between the three, I learned early on that I was a joiner. I like to be involved in different organizations, and so that kind of just has continued. But I started, by the fact that I was in those programs, you learned about the public accounting firms, and I did several internships. For example, I interned with Anderson. I did a CPA for a week program with them. I did an internship with Deloitte, where I was helping to revamp their recruiting program with about 6 other students. And then I did an internship with Coopers & Lybrand, which is the predecessor to PricewaterhouseCoopers. And in that particular, it was literally my after-school job. I went there Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I went to college or classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So that was kind of my initial entree into accounting and how I really got into the profession. Now, in terms of the journey from there, I spent 5 years with Coopers & Lybrand. I decided to transition to Anderson when the firm was merging to become PricewaterhouseCoopers. And then I worked another 5 years with Anderson, but I left Anderson pre-Enron and the whole situation that was happening in Texas that really imploded the firm as well as Enron. But while I was there, when I transitioned, I moved over to Robert Half International, which is where Anderson's old risk consulting business was acquired, and that became Protiviti. So I was able to help build, Protiviti by doing the accounting and reporting for their entity as they were really at their infancy. So it's great to see what they have become from where they began. And so from there, I stayed about 2 years with them, and I decided that it was kind of a flat organization for me, and decided that I wanted to go into back into public accounting. And so I went with EY. And I spent 5 years with them on the risk consulting side of the house, where we did internal audits, SOX, anything was kind of risk management, internal audit work. And I did that for 5 years before joining Kaiser Permanente. And so for the last now almost 15 years, I've been with Kaiser Permanente, where I've had seven different roles in that 15 years, all opportunities to expand my network, expand the type of work that I've done, and also just to expand my own career path to where I now run the Sarbanes Oxley program for the corporation.
It's such a journey. And you had so many. What's interesting is we always try to find out for students, how they really get their first introduction to accounting. Is it a professor? Is it a family member? We hear a lot of times it's family members, but you had a number of interesting touch points that kind of just led you in that direction. And it kept almost reinforcing the path you were on. It's just so interesting. Yeah, one question on that. For students, how important is it that we are in the high schools, or we're touching, students even in middle school, so that we make sure they understand accounting? Because so many times I hear accounting, it's not interesting. I don't even know what you do when you have a CPA. So give us maybe your thoughts on how we can do a better job of that interaction.
Oh, that's a wonderful comment and question, at the same time, that I really do believe that it's truly important for us as a profession to be in the high schools and even in the middle schools to talk about the profession, what we do, are the types of activities that are involved in accounting. Because what I hear when I go into high school classrooms as I'm doing visits across the country is that I'm not good at math. That's like the consistent theme I hear from students, and that's their entry point and their fear point of why they think that they can't do accounting. And I frequently tell them, well, I'm not good at math either, right? And so ultimately, you can have a very successful career and not be a mathematician or an expert in math, because really for accounting, you need to know your basic addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Right, you don't need to know the square root of this, that, and really crazy algebraic or calculus. That's not what we're dealing with. But what we do need are people to really think and to have great minds, and to process information, to make common sense out of sometimes complex matters, but also to help businesses think about different situations that they may enter into, whether it's a acquisition or it's a divestiture, or maybe it's a partnership. And what are the things that we need to think about as we look at those types of transactions and making smart decisions? And so it's really so much more than math, but that is part of the message, right, that we need to help these young people understand, because they're leaving this opportunity on the table many times because they think it's something that it really isn't, or that it's a small component of. And so the more that we're in the classroom telling our stories about what we do and the impacts that we have on businesses, firms, and economies, I believe that they will be inspired by those stories of what they could do, but also the financial benefits of that as well. Because if you work, right, in public accounting, or you work in private industry and you're in an accounting or finance role, that there is a really great lifestyle that you can build for yourself. And that's something that I also don't think is always understood.
Agree. Yeah, you said many things, but that are really critical. But being that sense maker, or making sense out of complex problems, and making others' dreams come true through, being a CPA or in private industry, it's that piece we don't do a really good job communicating.
Exactly. And so I'll give you an example of a program that I'm involved with that actually helps in that space. And so just for parents who have students who might be interested in this, there's a program in the Bay Area that's called the Accounting Career Awareness Program. It's actually a program that's underneath the National Association of Black Accountants umbrella. And what they do in this program is they take minority high school students for the most part, but it is open to anyone. But they focus on minority students because they're trying to build that pipeline. And they put them on a college campus for a week, free to the students and parents, because it's supported by the different firms and private companies as well, even Kaiser Permanente, which I'm very proud of. But basically, we take the students, put them on a college campus for a week. They have day and night counselors, so they always have supervision. But they're learning about accounting concepts. They're learning about businesses, how they make their money, how they spend their money, and then they have a case competition, at least historically, where they develop a soft beverage, but they discuss how do they market it, how do they so where do they want to do advertising, what types of roles in accounting are required to develop this product and to sell it and to account for the transactions. And so they talk about concepts like revenue and expense and the assets and liabilities. And so they learn these concepts that they may not have really understood before, but now understand the importance of how they run a business, but also that when they are dealing with even just day-to-day transactions that they may encounter in their life, they're doing accounting. They just don't think of it that way.
Right. It's not just the T accounts, right? There's so
exactly.
so much more to that. So how would someone get involved? You said it's the Accounting Career Awareness Program, correct? At ANABA?
Yes. So what you can do is there's a website. It's www.acapsfbayarea.org. If you go to that website or you look up Accounting Career Awareness Program, San Francisco Bay Area, you'll see their website, and there's actually an application that students can apply or work with their parents to apply to participate in that program. And it's annually held during the summer. Generally, it's up at UC Berkeley, but sometimes they go to different college campuses. But it's a wonderful program and a great opportunity for students to be exposed to the accounting profession in a really great way. But also, it's an awesome way for kids to get a week away from their parents and for their parents to get a week away from them. So it's a win for everybody.
It's when you have those double, triple wins, that's where you need to focus. I love it. That's great. Maybe just to move over to now your term as AICPA chair, what does that mean to you kind of personally, professionally, and maybe what are the top two kind of focus areas for yourself, for the organization?
Well, so I would say that what it means to me personally is that it's far beyond anything I would have ever imagined that I would be doing at this stage of my career when I began thinking about accounting as a profession and as a student at North State University. Never would have thought that this would be somewhere that I would be sitting. And by the fact that at this time I serve as the first African American male professional to serve in this capacity in the organization's 136 years. It says a lot in that respect as well. Now, so I would say that, so it just means a tremendous amount to me, and to have the enormous support that I've had, from, everyone that I engage with in the profession is just meant, tremendous amount to me personally. From a professional perspective, it's truly a career milestone, something that, I believe will, for me, it's historical, but it also will be something that I can look back on, and ideally with the contributions that I'll make over this term, to be really proud of the impact that I had within the profession, not only just, as being a member of council and serving on the board, but serving in this capacity. And I believe that it also, speaks to the work that the profession and the AICPA has done in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion. That at the end of the day, it's not about giving someone an opportunity that doesn't deserve it, and not like tooting my own horn or anything. But I believe that we have to create opportunities. We have to be intentional about looking for leaders who have the ability to serve in these capacities and giving those opportunities because they've earned it. Right? And so I feel like in this space that I've done a lot, in my career, as you've shared, and I have a perspective to share. There are many others' perspectives to share as well, but I hope that in the space of which I've lived and how I've operated as a leader, that I can bring these different experiences to the table. And when I meet with our different state societies across the country, I'm able to share about what your business industry people care about, or what public accounting people are involved in, the types of issues that they're dealing with, but also how they work with clients. And because now I'm a client, right? And so I know what I expect, right? From the firms that I work with, but then also academia. I've served as an adjunct professor for a few years teaching on leadership, and I work for a nonprofit, organization, a very large nonprofit, but yet still a nonprofit. So I bring these different experiences to the table that I believe speaks to many of members of the association and the AICPA, but also individuals who are sitting within the different state societies across the country. So it's all that and more. But it's a tremendous opportunity, and I'm just grateful that I have support of CalCPA as my state's CPA society, but also the association, the leadership within the association, which is the Association of International Certified Professional Accountants, which I kind of call like the parent company of the AICPA, and then CIMA, which is the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, but that partnership. So I really want to help drive the work there. So you asked next about what are the three areas that I'm focused on within my term. And so there are three areas that I'm focused on. The first is continuing to innovate within the profession. The second is building or increasing public trust in key areas such as sustainability, which I would say is ESG. And then by supporting the next generation of accountants and giving them opportunities to succeed. And so I want to break that down just for a moment, just because I think it's important to hit on each of them just a little bit. So in terms of innovating, or continuing to innovate within the profession, that's really speaking to how we as a profession leverage technology to really advance what we do. Because there's a lot of, I will say, low-hanging fruit, things that we do that may be routine, that aren't as interesting, that really could be automated. It can be simplified, centralized, automated to eliminate a lot of that more manual work and to create more interesting opportunities for those who are coming behind us to really do great work that they're more interested in. So I think that that's also part of helping to address our pipeline challenges that we have, is that people who are thinking about the accounting profession, they want to feel like, one, they're doing impactful work that is meaningful to them, not only in their profession, but just in life. And they want to be a part of organizations that are fast thinking, that innovative, that think about change. And if we are looking to continue to advance as a profession, we really have to embrace and utilize technology to help us to do our work better, faster, smarter, and create more value to organizations. So I want us to work in that space. One of the ways that we're looking at doing that is also with our CPA exam, which is part of the CPA Evolution Program, which has been in partnership with NASBA to change the way the CPA exam has been historically been taken. So there'll be some disciplines that you can focus on, whether it's tax, core accounting, or technology, to really help you, have I'll say kind of a more focused discipline in terms of the areas and spaces in which you want to work as a career. Now, in terms of the public trust space, really, we are a player in the ESG space, which stands for environmental, social, and governance. And in that space, I would say we have a seat at the table, but we're not yet at the head of the table, right? Because there are a number of other players who are like boutique organizations and firms that work within the ESG space, but accountants have just a depth of experience and history in looking at solutions around things like ESG. So when you think about either performing attestation services, well, public accounting firms or people who are mid-sized, smaller firms, they can do that work for organizations. And if you are someone who are looking to create an ESG program in your organization, those same firms can help you in determining what your strategy should look like for ESG, and to also create the measurements or the controls that you would have to support what you are going to be reporting in your financial statement disclosures or any type of ESG reporting you might do. which is really important because you can't just put something out there, in the public arena and say, this is what I'm doing, right, in terms of ESG, and not have the support to back up those statements. And accountants can really, focus in that space and help and support that area. And then the last space in terms of the supporting the next generation of accountants, I shared this, and I know that you even stated this with me on a LinkedIn, that I say that trees were planted by people before us in this profession, and that we sit in the shade because of those trees that were planted for us many years ago. We have to plant those same trees for the next generation so that they have that same benefit that we've had today. And so I believe that creating opportunity both for individuals who are in the majority, but also who are in the minority. So looking at diversity, equity, inclusion, and how we create more seats at the table for individuals to feel like they have equitable opportunities to thrive within our environment in our profession is something critical that I think is important. And I think that goes back to what I was sharing about literally when I go to many state societies, I frequently do not see a lot of individuals who look like me at the table. Right. But I reinforce that message of I've had many mentors and sponsors who did not look like me, and that you have the ability to create a future chairman, of the association or the AICPA by mentoring and supporting their development. And so would you not? You want to be a part of developing that and to be able to sit back and say, I had something to do with that success. Right. And so and whether it's that level or just literally helping someone to advance in their career, maybe become a partner in a firm, maybe become a CFO in a private industry organization, that by mentoring and supporting and developing people of all backgrounds, we can really thrive as a profession. And I believe it's important that we do that. And I want to do my part to make that happen.
Mm-hmm. No, it's critical. It really is. And I share a lot, Okorie, that kind of vision and statement of the trees and being able to, because it's so important to be able to give back and be able to have the pipeline, the pathway, and the diversity for the profession. It just makes it a more rich profession for sure. Just on the diversity, equity, and inclusion, and focusing on diversity, we know how important it is, and I hear a lot from professionals. I got into the profession, and from a retention standpoint, I just didn't see me in leadership roles. I didn't feel the support. I didn't have the mentorship that I really needed to have, or the sponsorship, which both are so important. What would you say to firms or to corporations, industry, as far as what is that culture that we need to make sure that we have going forward to make sure we have that retention and we keep people, in the profession, that they don't leave because they went through 5 years of school, they've taken the exam, and then they decide to leave? I mean, that speaks volume of where we have some gaps.
Denise, I think that's such an important question, and I definitely have some thoughts, and I would also recommend that people take a look. There's an article that I did for Fortune Online back, I want to say in 2021, and it's called "Leading with DE&I in the Finance Function." And I would really, it's something that maybe we can even add, as an attachment, but it speaks to some of the things that the organizations can do. And this is just based on not me as an expert in the DE&I or the DE&I space, but someone who has lived experiences. Right. So I just want to, kind of space that, because I think it's important that I don't hold myself out to be a diversity, equity, and inclusion expert, but I do have lived experiences, and I know from which you speak. One thing that I would share would be that actively listening to your professionals of diverse background and understanding their needs and perspectives is a critical element. And sometimes, people are afraid, honestly, to have those conversations because they don't know, one, what they might get in terms of responses, and are they prepared for those things, but also that, well, will the person who they're asking feel comfortable with the fact that they're asking that question? And I believe that there's an element of just, what's the word I'm looking for? This, I would say, it can be uncomfortable, but really, it's well, I was curious, but the word I'm looking for is it's actually vulnerability. That's the word I was looking for is that you have to put yourself in a place of being vulnerable, to be able to go after that information and let the individual know that this is what I'm trying to do, right? Because I believe that if the intent is viewed as positive and that you're looking to do good, then and that you're going to act on the information that you get. Like that's the worst thing you can do is you get the information and then no one sees the impact of it. But that would be critically important. I believe that also providing tools and resources for advancement of helping people to understand what is required to advance within respective organizations, because sometimes it's like this gray box or this black box. So, well, if you stay long enough, you do the right things, you will eventually become, this leader, right, in the organization. But you don't know what do you need to be doing during those years that you're trying to exceed expectations and thrive within the organization. But you've got to do that and make it clear in terms of the paths, because it shouldn't be a secret of what do you need to do to become leader in the organization. I believe that having metrics around measuring DE&I performance, and incentivizing those who are actively driving change within the organization is also a key element. And for me, this isn't about quotas. It's about being intentional and creating opportunities for people to grow and have opportunities to thrive in their careers. Because ultimately, if you're not intentional about it, you won't be able to know what you're getting done, and you won't be able to measure how effective are the processes and the policies that you're putting in place to advance that. So some other things I would recommend would be thinking about like the types of opportunities that people are getting on, within the organization. So whether if it's a firm, what are the types of, assignments that individuals are being put on? Are we putting what we call the best and brightest on, the different opportunities, and do they look like different backgrounds? Because if we have a homogeneous team who all look the same and bring the same type of backgrounds to the table, we're likely going to be missing something, and that's an opportunity, right? If we don't create space for there to be variety and for different backgrounds to be seen and operating on those, especially big projects that really help to showcase your ability and to give you opportunities to grow your career, sort of like the major accounts and such. And then in the industry, same thing, where if there's a special project that generally, you put the best and the brightest on those special projects because you really want this to be successful. Well, you need to make sure that you're creating a team that has different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different schools of thought, that all those things are coming into play when you're developing that team, so that multiple people get that perspective and back an opportunity. And then again, if you see a homogeneous team, then you should be asking yourself some questions. Why does this look this way? We're missing something, and we should be doing something different. And that's both male, female, different ethnicities, different sexual orientations. All that really should be factored into what you're looking at doing. The last thing I would share is that I just believe that it's important to just look at that when we talk about like who we view as the best and brightest, that we have to think that not only in those individuals that we would say are high potential, right? That people identify as, well, these are our high potential people. Well, are you really looking broadly, at your organization, or looking broadly where you recruit from? Because if you are recruiting from the places where you have said, well, these where our partners have come from, well, you're going to get the same thing that you've always gotten, versus really looking at, well, maybe we should be going to different schools. Maybe we should be going to what we call HBCUs, which are historically Black colleges and universities, to look for talent that are really exceptional, but are from different places than we have historically gotten. So these are just some of the things that I would share that I think are opportunities for us, for whether you're in a firm or whether you are in business industry, to really make an impact in terms of how you are supporting your diversity, equity, inclusion strategy.
That's great advice for anyone. I'd say anyone in any industry. It's because those kind of 5 different points you gave could apply anywhere, right? I mean, actively listening. I really appreciate that, because when we were starting our D&I journey, more intentionally, as you said, back when I was with IREM. I remember one of the consultants saying to me, you have to skin your knee. You have to just, like you said, be vulnerable. And 'cause I was always afraid. What I would say, is it okay? Should I skin your knee and get up and keep moving forward? Because if you don't, you will not. And it's that vulnerability that we're so afraid. But you have to do that. And so that's a great start. It's just a start. And then some of the other areas that you indicated are just really helpful for anyone, just to make sure they have assignments, make sure there's metrics. And I remember, Okorie, when I was you were on the search committee, so thank you for that. But I remember you asking me specifically about DE&I and how you make sure that you hold people accountable. And we talked a bit about the metrics, but that for me was just so impactful that someone asked that question, because it was so important to me. And so I thought, oh, this is a place for me, if you believe it's a place for me. So thank you so much for that. Just great advice, honestly, great advice. A question, because you're such a remarkable leader, and that was driven home to me, and I think to others, when we were at AICPA and at your installation, and what others had shared about you. And so many people in the audience said they were feeling emotional, and it's because the individuals that talked about you were emotional, and they had such wonderful things to say about you, and it's because of you, right? You inspired them. So from a leadership standpoint, what would you say, are some qualities of a really impactful leader, inspirational leader?
Denise, that one is interesting for me, because I feel like I could spend a lot of time on that one, because
we'll have you back.
I mentioned to you. Exactly. Because I've been teaching that course on leadership, at some specific university in the MBA program. It was a wonderful opportunity to bring different leaders with different perspectives to the table that really represented just a rainbow of people and backgrounds and experiences, so that people did see that reflection of themselves in the classroom and thought, I can maybe be one of these individuals. And they brought a number of ideas. But just a few things that I would share. I believe that leadership, you have to have integrity, you have to have vision, you have to have perspective. Right? And that you need to be someone who inspires other people to help them grow, and to understand that service is something that is really important. So being what we call a servant leader, that I really believe that my job is really the biggest part of my job is supporting my team and helping them to see the strengths, the opportunities, the experiences that they have, and seeing things in them that they may not even believe that they have in themselves, and to challenge them, to really take these opportunities and to really grow, and to know that I'm going to stretch you, but I'm also not going to let you fall. Right. So that ultimately, I've got you, if there's something if there's a meeting or something you need me to be involved in to really help you, or you're running into a challenge, that I'm going to be there to support you in whatever environment that you may be in. But those are just some of the things that I think that are really important. Many people want to lead, but they need to understand that supporting and being able to serve and support others is equally as important as being someone who makes decisions. You have to be able to execute and support the work that ultimately allows you to eventually lead and make decisions and support others. But those are just some of the things. But like I told you, Denise, I spent a lot of time in this space of leadership and the skill sets that you need. And I went back to actually some of my materials that I have for my course, and like leadership traits that individuals admired. I had literally like 3 rows of probably about 20 items that individuals identified as what their leadership traits that they really thought were inspiring to them, but also different things that I heard from the leaders and the common themes that came through leaders who actually came through the course to share what their experiences were with individuals who were part of the class. So it was a wonderful experience.
I love that quote, because servant leadership, I did take it was a cohort class and 10 years ago or so, but it wasn't, people would say, oh, servant leadership, you're serving, that you need to be powerful. I mean, and it was seen as being weak, right? But now it's so important, especially with EQ and making sure that you understand and have empathy. So knowing we're drawing near, we'll have to have you back again. We could talk for hours, as we know, so much that we could talk about. But so when your term with AICPA is up, and it's goes by quickly, but you're going to do so many amazing things, and you already have. What's next for you? Seems like you're always have something on your horizon. Is there a next?
Well, immediate past year would be next. but
and that's that's a lot too.
Exactly. But I would say, in all seriousness, I actually still am thinking, about some of those next things. But one of the things that I am currently in the process of doing is I'm participating in a corporate board leadership program. It's called the Black Corporate Board Readiness Program, and it's BCBR is it's kind of its acronym, and so it's an amazing program that I'm part of cohort 8, and I'm getting the experience of learning what are the things that the individuals who are serving on corporate boards that they need to be thinking about, and how they support organizations that are looking to have individuals serve on their boards. And I'm looking at how I can take all the experiences that I've had, in my corporate world, but also in my volunteerism, and take that into, the corporate, boardrooms and in different spaces as well, because I believe that we still aren't anywhere near where we probably should be in terms of having individuals represented in that space. And when you're at that table, right, you are helping those who are making decisions that impact the world, and having that view heard and respected and listened to. And I believe that I have an opportunity and I have the experience to share, in that capacity. So that's part of what the next steps will be. We'll be looking at service on corporate boards, but also how I can continue to be involved in various community programs and activities that really help individuals thrive, but also minority individuals to continue to advance within, whether it's in school or whether it's in the profession, because I believe it's still a really important area for us to focus on. And if a given state society wants me to come through and provide perspectives, I'm still going to always be here to share those ideas and thoughts and what we're doing. Because as past chair of the AICPA, I will continue to serve on council, which would be something that would help me remain relevant, to our profession, to be able to continue to provide perspective and input, into what we're doing, which I believe is just an immense opportunity that I'm very proud of. And so I want to do that as well as continue to operate within my day job, which is serving as Vice President of SOX for Kaiser Permanente. So I have a lot still yet on the table. I feel like I still have a lot to offer, and I'm looking forward to continuing to serve in this capacity and others.
Well, I have no doubt that whatever you set your sights on, you will accomplish. So you'll be on many probably corporate boards, but you have such a unique perspective, and you started out with that, just having the public piece, having the industry corporate piece, being an adjunct professor. There's just so many elements that you are a great spokesperson, for the profession and also for the business communities. So we will definitely, anytime we can get with Okorie, we are happy to have and grateful for that. But we know that you're extremely busy right now, and we always want to honor that and respect that. But just been wonderful to talk to you. Thank you. Thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule. And anything you would like to add before we sign off?
Sure, Lisa. And again, thank you for this opportunity. It has been amazing as always to talk to you. You were an amazing find, and we are so glad that you are serving as the leader of our of our state society, CalCPA, and just amazing. So even though I'm part of that team, I still say that this has been a win, an amazing win for us, and that we did our job. And so I'm really, really pleased that you're here. But the last point that I would share is just I would be remiss if I didn't share my deep gratitude and appreciation for you, for the senior leadership team at CalCPA, and for all of our members who do just incredible work every day, but also their just immense support of me serving in this capacity. I felt, especially for those who sit on council, just an amazing, just love and support for the just for me serving this role and supporting me in doing such. Always there to be there to cheer me on and just to make sure that I know that they've got my back. And so I feel like having my state society supporting me the way that you all do, it just means a tremendous amount to me, and that I want to do everything I can to ensure that I'm representing, our profession well, but also CalCPA as well as my home state society. So just want to share my deep gratitude and appreciation for our state society, and again the leadership team and everyone who works at CalCPA. You are an amazing group of individuals, and thank you for your support.
Well, thank you. And we do have amazing members and leaders as you. I'm very appreciative for that. And thank you again, Okorie, for your time. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye.
Rise and Stride is produced by the California Society of Certified Public Accountants. To learn more, visit calcpa.org.